All the Ravens training camp news, give it to us. Pads are on, Lamar is back. Rumors are going around, and you are with the Purple Rain podcast. Yes, welcome back. Happy Monday. This episode of the Purple Rain podcast, episode 252. If you're new here, if you're a new Ravens fan, only one player's ever worn number 52. In my humble opinion, the greatest linebacker to ever touch the gridiron. One Raymond Lewis, 52. One team player, 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl MVP as a defensive player. Played at a high level damn near every single year. Came back injured his final year. Went out on top. Went through Brady. Went through Manning. Went through the Niners.
Yeah.
This one is for you, Ray Lewis. Thank you very much for being the greatest. Well, some don't think he's the greatest. I think he's the greatest player ever in our franchise. Definitely, that 52 jersey went undefeated in the 2000s. I'll tell you that right now. You saw that about everywhere. The Reebok purple 52, thinking about it. Everywhere you went, it was everywhere. But thank you for coming through this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. A lot to talk about, training camp stuff going on. K-Dog starting us off with the love of the replay gang. So I'll get that to there first. If you're not here live and you're part of the replay gang, thank you so much for, coming on, clicking on this video, watching it. We send our love to you. And if, have something to say, leave it in the comments below. We check them and, have something to talk about, we'll bring it up. You can follow us on Instagram, though, at the Purple Rain podcast. Follow this guy over here on Instagram, on X at Sutton Def, and UFC was this past week. 2 for 3 on the bets, and to me that's a profitable day, a profitable night, And Patty Pimble was a minus 118, making money there. And then if you put the little bundle together, the Tom Aspinall round 1 knockout, that was a plus, I believe, 700 as well. Just letting you know. I'm pretty sure that's what it was on DraftKings. I know why I put them in there. You can follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod and on X at simplyas10. And most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. It is freaking hot outside this week, but you see my guy Sutton, fresh fade, fresh beard. It looks beautiful. How do you think he got it? The beard that is Manscaped. Go on there, use code PRP, 20% off your whole order and free international shipping. It does not get better than that. Ball deodorant cannot rave about that enough. Fantastic. But it is Monday, so I'm going to have to ask you how your weekend was, Sutton.
Weekend was great. Can't complain about it, not one bit. The Ravens are in training camp. It's well underway. There's a lot of good news coming out of Ravens training camp, so I'm excited to talk about it, but I would be remiss if I did not bring up who's here in the live chat on this episode 252, the Ray Lewis, our third Ray Lewis episode of this podcast, right? We got to see who's here in the live chat. K-Dog, as you already mentioned, giving a shout out to the replay gang. What's going on, Mod K-Dog? Appreciate you for coming through each and every time. Mod Dre. Well, Dre's not a mod, but maybe Dre should be a mod. Dre's always
Dre
here.
has to get a mod. Yeah.
He might deserve the mod status. Dre, let us know if you want that. What's up, Purple Rain Gang? What's going on, Dre? Appreciate you for coming through. We got Lisa in the house, says, hey, Alex and Sutton, tomorrow I'm going to the oncologist. I'm scared to death. I hope she has good news for me. Lisa, we pray that she has great news for you, to be honest.
Fantastic news.
Absolutely.
News where you walk out and you're like, oh, I was worrying for nothing. That type of news.
Yes. Thank you for coming through, Lisa. Thank you for coming through. Taquan Christian is in the house, says, what's up, Rain Gang? Sutton and Alex checking in from Hawaii. Oh, my goodness. What's going on, Taquan?
I hope the feet are in the white sand, drink in the hand. If you partake in a little bit of alcoholic beverages and kick back and enjoy. And thank you for spending your Monday night in Hawaii with us. Monday afternoon right now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Big ups to you, bro. Big ups to you, Taquan. We got Yolanda in the house, says, good evening, Rain Gang. What's going on, Yolanda? Good evening to you as well. Okay. So we got some Ravens talk to get into, right? Training camp has been going on over the weekend. It happened today. There's been interviews, press conferences, footage all over the place. There's a couple notes that I have from, I think Sunday was the last training camp that the Ravens had. Couple things, right? I want to start with this. Jeff Zrebiec tweeted, said Lamar Jackson returned to, no, actually, correction, it was Saturday that they had this last practice. They had off on Sunday. Lamar Jackson returned, and predictably, the offense had its best practice. Lots of catches for Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. Rashad Bateman was involved. Devontae Walker and Kadir Ismail also made a few plays. All right, let me start with this. You guys see the title in the video. It says Isaiah Likely, tight end 1, question mark. Okay. I put out a video the other day making my, re-stamping my hot take that Isaiah Likely will finish the season with better numbers than Mark Andrews. I'm standing by it, Alex. I am.
Okay.
And all this news out of training camp just further kind of solidifies my thought on this. There's people been telling me that I'm crazy on it. I don't think I'm crazy, Alex. I don't. And I'll tell you why. Again, Isaiah Likely is a rising star on this offense. Lamar Jackson is building and developing more and more trust with Isaiah Likely as the days go by. We also know Lamar Jackson loves his bigger targets. If you notice, who did I just say Jeff Zarebek said was having a good day, pass catcher wise? Taller guys. Yeah, tight ends and Rashad Bateman, taller guys, right? He loves his bigger receivers. And I'm not going to say that like the connection between Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews is getting stale, because it's not. You know, Lamar, he's still going to be throwing a mark all season long. I just think that Isaiah Likely in this Ravens offense, and including Todd Monken, they're going to be more intentional about getting him more involved and incorporated into this offense. You saw it first and foremost with that Houston Texans playoff game. You remember that playoff game where he had the touchdown in the end zone, right? It was the rollout to the right from Lamar, and he kind of tosses it over the top to Isaiah Likely. I expect a lot more plays like that, and that's another reason why I think Isaiah Likely will finish with more touchdowns this season than Mark Andrews. So with all this talk coming out of training camp, Alex, about, you know, Isaiah Likely and how well he's been doing, he's catching everything, like all the beat writers are saying the same thing. Isaiah Likely is all over the place. Even today's camp, right? On Monday, July 29th, whatever it is, right? Isaiah Likely is all over the place. So with this news, do you think, or are you kind of shifting your take over to my side? Or are you still sticking to the Mark Andrews wave? Who's gonna be the better tight end this year?
I'm still shifting towards the managers, all right, but I think it'll be close, and I think it'll be close to the point where we may see Isaiah Likely get a little bit more attention, but I'm kind of hoping that he does, because that means it'll free up somebody else. But at the same time, I kind of want to keep the hype to a low so we can catch people off guard, especially the first couple of games, the gauntlet we have. You know, the Chiefs, Raiders, the home opener, Bills, Bengals, Cowboys. Kind of want him to ball out those first 5 games, and then he can kind of pay attention. But
sure,
I think you make a good point with the touchdowns. I think Isaiah Likely could have the same, if not more, touchdowns than Mark Andrews. And guess what? I'm fine with that. That means we're still getting in the end zone, but it means he'll be open more often than Andrews will. And I don't hate that. I mean, I'm not going to care about it for fantasy purposes, because I probably won't draft either of them. But for the Ravens offense purposes, that means we're spreading the ball around. That means he's getting open. And we know he has, sure hands. We've seen it. We know he has that nasty yards after the catch ability and the yards after contact as well, stiff arm guys. And I think you've said it before. He's a tight end and a wide receiver's body. So I'm right there with you. I can agree that he might have some more touchdowns, but I'm going to have Mark Andrews have more yards, but he'll be an even bigger part of this offense. Could be the 1B.
Garrett Downing, as you guys all know, Ravens reporter, says tight end Isaiah Likely was probably the best player on the field today for the Ravens. Caught everything, consistently got open. He looks like he's in store for a big year. Again, man, to me, it just sounds like Lamar Jackson is developing a new favorite pass catcher on this team. And again, I'm not saying that to diminish what Mark Andrews has done for us over the years. I'm not saying that to diminish what I think he will continue to do for us in the future. But I just think that Isaiah Likely, he's a fresh target. He's going into his 3rd year. Every year he's gotten better. Every year he's proven to MVP, 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson that, hey, look, I'm your guy, whether that be from the tight end perspective or from the wide receiver perspective. Like, you can feed me the ball whenever, wherever. I'm going to make something happen. And like we always talk about on the show, and everybody knows this, if you've been following the Ravens, Isaiah Likely. The best thing about his game is the fact that the yards after the catch, right? He can catch the ball. He can make a guy miss. He's not clunky in his movements like a lot of other big tight ends are. He's not. He's very fluid in his movements. He can get away from guys. He can typically get away from the first guy, break away for at least another 5, 6, 7 yards, and that's huge. That's absolutely huge. So, I love what I'm hearing about Isaiah Likely coming out of training camp so far. I'm standing by my take. And if you're listening to this, we got about 25 people in here watching live right now. But if you're watching this after the fact, hello. Make sure you like the video,
on Twitter,
by the way. Or on Twitter. If you're on X right now watching this, hello. Maybe consider going over to YouTube, liking the video, subscribing to the channel. I don't know. Do whatever you want. But I'm sticking by my hot take that Isaiah Likely will finish this season with better numbers than Mark Andrews. I think it's going to happen. Okay, Alex.
It's not crazy to say. I'll tell you that right now. It's not crazy to say because you got to think about the time they had together last year. It's kind of all Lamar had tight end wise, so you got to throw it to him.
Yeah.
I get it.
Lisa has a question here. Says, do you guys think Charlie Kolar and Pat Ricard will be more involved this season? Yes and no. Okay, so when it comes to Pat Ricard, I think yes, because the addition of a Derrick Henry, I think they're going to want to get a big body like Patrick Ricard in plays with where Derrick Henry is involved, so they can have big bodies on big bodies, just coming at you from all different directions. And Charlie Kolar, we just got done talking about Isaiah Likely and how good he's been. They're damn sure not going to bench Mark Andrews. You know what I mean? Like both of those guys, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, are going to be getting most of the tight end production. So no, I don't expect Charlie Kolar to have a big role this season unless somebody were to unfortunately go down with an I word. But Pat Ricard, I do agree. You?
Yeah, I'm 100% agree with both those takes. One thing I do want to say though is I pulled up our 2022 drafts. We had 6 4th-round picks. Isaiah Likely was the second to last, pick 139. Charlie Kolar was 11 picks ahead of him. We took Falele, Jalen Armour Davis, Kolar, Stout, Likely, and then Pepe Williams.
Yeah.
Right now, light bill on the Kolar anytime touch it. I can't sit back and think about that Dolphins game. Like if you actually parlay the Pat Ricard anytime, the Kolar anytime, what those odds would have been. But let me just revert back to what I was talking about. Isaiah Likely at pick 139 in round 4. To what he's meant to this offense last year and what I think this year is an absolute steal, and I have to give a lot of credit to the Ravens scouting department. Picking guy out of Coastal Carolina and the development we're seeing and we're hearing, and the fact he may be a 700-800 yard guy, I want to give credit there. But as for Kolar, I don't see him doing that much, unfortunately. Maybe 10 catches, 15 catches, maybe touchdown in the garbage time. And then for Ricard, I expect more run blocking and just line blocking than pass catching. Maybe a couple on 3rd and short or something.
Agreed. Thank you for the question, Lisa. We appreciate you. Some other news coming out of the training camp from over the weekend. By the way, we got Mod Roosh in the house here. It says, what's good, Rain Gang? Mod Roosh was actually at training camp over the weekend. I hit him up about that. I told him to report back on Monday, tell us what he saw. So Mod Roosh, tell us what you saw. Maybe we got to get Roosh on here to talk sometime. I don't know how he might feel about that. I know he's a great guy. We got to get him up here.
Yeah. He told me one thing. He told me Josh Johnson wasn't looking the hottest. And
yeah.
I looked back at the free agent quarterbacks again, and I was like, Ryan Tannehill might be the guy to be the backup at this point. I'll tell you that.
I've been seeing remnants about Tannehill saying, oh, I wouldn't mind joining the team, kind of in the Flacco style, just kind of join, and I wouldn't mind it. I would not be opposed to it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already played with Derrick Henry. I don't know. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
But look, what's going on, Tanja Bowman? Thank you for coming through to this episode of the show. Mod Roosh says, some quick hits. Josh Johnson is not the answer for QB2. Tez Walker and Nelson Aguilar shined. The defense is playing with high intensity. Marlon and Brandon Stevens stayed after to get extra work in. Okay. I like that. And I've heard Marlon Humphrey's been doing very well in this training camp. Yeah. He's been looking sharp. He's got 5 picks on Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Look, man, this defense is looking good. And we're talking about Marlon Humphrey still looking like the best guy. We still got Brandon Stevens. We got Nate Wiggins. I mean, look, man, it could be scary. What do you think about that, though?
Yeah, and then he's real quick. He says Ronnie and Rosengarten were working together off to the side when practice ended. That's good to see. That's hopefully our starting tackles right there working together.
Yeah, we'll
But
talk about that. Yeah,
if Marlon can catch the ball, that's the one piece of his play I thought was lacking. It was just the ball tracking. Many a times, even the game last year against the Rams, he could have ended it in the fourth quarter before
yeah,
overtime. Dropped a pick, but there was great play from the receiver as a DB. But if he had better ball tracking, the game ends right there in regulation. He can cover anywhere. He's strong. He's physical. Great press skills. It's just the interceptions he's been lacking. And if he can get it now, I'm all for it. That just makes him an even better, well-rounded corner, and even that more dangerous. So you don't really want to throw to him if he can finally catch it now. But I'll have to wait and see until we get to regular season. But it's good to hear though.
yeah. 40 people watching live. Thank you so much for coming through to this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. But look, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing about Marlon Humphrey. Not only do I want to see him catch the football more in terms of interceptions, I want to see him get back to punching that football out. I mean, I was just watching a video the other day of like, the olden days, you can kind of say, 2021-ish, 2020, those days where Marlon Humphrey was punching that football out, and he was creating turnovers for our defense. Like, that's what I want to see. I don't even necessarily have to see you like, getting your hands on these footballs and getting these interceptions. These quarterbacks they're damn good nowadays. Most of the times they're going to get the ball to their target. But once they do, oh, go get those guys. Be violent at the point of attack. I mean, Roquan Smith talked about it earlier this offseason. I think Marlon Humphrey's got to get back to that, man. Get that fruit punch.
Yeah, and get those turnovers up because we know we're not going to. I mean, we had to replace 7 interceptions last year from Geno Stone. I don't expect Eddie Jackson to have 7, so we have to find another way to get them. And the way that receivers, carry that ball, some of them are really looking for that, just that explosive play, and
Yeah,
that ball could go loose there, or they could be holding it like a loaf of bread. So if he can get back to punching it, because teams were holding the ball and just protecting the ball a lot better when they were playing us 2020. 2021. I think of he punched it out against the Bengals, had a couple of punch outs against the Eagles that year, and even that weird Thursday night game, he had a punch out, went out of bounds. Now it hasn't happened for like a year, so hopefully they kind of forgot about it. If you can bring that back, you're right. Just even that more explosive and really, kind of playing to what he's worth, because he still, I think, has a top 5 contract for a DB. And when he was had his press conference or presser, he said EDC caught him in the offseason. He thought he was getting cut. So I think even he realizes, like, he has to be there, more than just staying healthy, but impacting it, getting those turnovers back, because we're paying you 20 some odd million a year. You got to be just a playmaker again. And that's why we paid you. And now it's time to really show it.
Facts. Another tweet coming out of the castle. This one from Sarah Ellison, as you guys know, on Twitter. She says, nose tackle Michael Pierce was asked about the competition for the 3 open offensive line spots. He quickly named one guy in particular. Andrew Voorhees is going to be really good. Listen, that was in quote, but listen. To hear this coming from Michael Pierce, one of the best run stoppers in Ravens history, right? This is good news, right? Because all offseason we've been talking about how, our offensive line is kind of in disarray. We really don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty surrounding, okay, who's going to start at left guard? Who's going to start at right guard? Who's going to start at right tackle? After we lost Morgan Moses, Zeitler, so on and so forth, John Simpson, all those guys. The fact that Andrew Voorhees, and then we've talked about it, USC guy, pretty much redshirted his first year in the NFL because he was hurt. He's coming in now. He's healthy, and he's looking good at that left guard spot. That's really positive news. I don't know if Ravens fans are really taking stock of that, but when it comes to this run game, right, and we are one of the most run dominant teams in this league. Even last year when we adopted the Todd Monken offense, we still had some of the most rushing attempts in the league, if not the most, right? So I think that if with those guard positions, trying to run between the tackles, right, that means your guards have to be damn good at blocking, moving guys off their spot. If Andrew Voorhees can be that guy, and we'll talk about right guard in a little bit here, but if Andrew Voorhees can be that guy on the left side, I think that we're in a really good spot. We're in really good shape. Derrick Henry's going to do his work. But what do you think about all this stuff?
I 100% agree with you. If you have a guy like Michael Pierce saying that, who he does a lot of dirty work. If you're somebody who doesn't watch the NFL and you just kind of you ask who Michael Pierce is, probably don't know. You look at his stats, it's probably not the best. Maybe 3 or 4 tackle for losses, maybe a sack, but it's more than that. It's the fact that he'll eat up 2 guys on the line. So right now you have 3 linemen left trying to block 2 or 3 guys, or the way we scheme up blitzes, which I heard with Zach Gore, it's really no different than what Mike McDonald was doing. It's still really intricate and hard to predict. It's just the type of guy where it's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but when you watch him, you see what he can do. And I'm glad he posted a video on Instagram and kind of highlighting what he did this past season. I don't know if you saw the post, but it was really impressive of the way he was blowing up plays and the way a lot of throwaways, a lot of just blown running plays for the other team. And if he's saying that about a guy like Voorhees, I'm going to buy it. Voorhees is going against Michael Pierce, Travis Jones, Matabike, those type of guys. You can only learn from them. You can only get better. It's not like you're going against a bunch of scrubs. You're going against all pros, Pro Bowlers, and up-and-coming guys and a guy like Travis Jones, who I thought got better as the year progressed. So I am very happy. I think, honestly, to me, I'm going to lock him in at the left guard right now, hearing that. I know it could be early, but from what I've heard and from what we're hearing, I think he's all but our left guard right now.
No, I agree. I think it's his job to lose at this very specific time. Have a question coming from Space. This is actually one of my guys here. He's actually watching from X, aka Twitter. Shout out to Space. Appreciate you, brother. Says stat predictions for Zay Flowers. So, excuse me. Zay Flowers was another one. Had a touchdown today, thrown by one Lamar Jackson, up the left side of the sideline. It looked nice, right? It looked pretty. The throw was really good, but Space here he's actually asking, what do we think is going to be Zay Flowers' stat prediction for the year? I'll start. I think that he's going to go ahead and I'm predicting 850-ish yards, somewhere around there. And I'm going to predict 5 touchdowns. I'm going to predict 5 touchdowns for Zay Flowers. I think that this year is going to be very tight end heavy when it comes to the red zone and who we throw to. But Zay Flowers will get his 5 or maybe 6. But I'm going to go with around 750 to 850 yards, something like that. What about you?
So last year he had 77 catches, 858 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I don't want to sound like a homer. I am a Zay Flowers fan. I think this is a year. I think he'll be our first receiver since Mr. Brown in 2021 to get over 1,000. Give me him. I'm going to take Zay Flowers. I'm going to take 85 to 90 catches. I'm going to take 1,100. That's if he plays every game. That's even if the Week 18 game. If he doesn't play the Week 18 game, still give me over 1,000. Give me 7 to 8 touchdowns. There is a lot of targets have to be shared since Odell is gone. Odell got a fair share of his, and they have to go to either Bateman or Zay. So I'm obviously no Morgan likely, but I feel like Zay is going to get the most of those targets, and he's smart. Year 2, he'll know where to go when he has the ball. He'll know, when to get out of balance. He'll know when not to fight for the extra yards.
When not to taunt.
And what my biggest thing, I'll say, yes, my biggest thing, he won't have a fumble. That is my biggest prediction. I think I saw something where Lamar said that day after the AFC Championship.
Oh, yes, talk about it.
Lamar went to Zay Flowers' house.
Yes.
The day after that game, Lamar Jackson went to Zay Flowers' house, kind of like being there for him, and because it's crazy, like he's grieving low key, like in that big of a game and how we worked for it, and from afar you could say Zay Flowers costed that game. A lot of things went wrong in the game, but to me, knowing that Lamar went there to comfort him, that meant a lot. That's a leader. That's the type of leader that you don't see. The pregame speeches. That's just a humble leader right there. But yeah, I do like Zay getting over 1,000 and getting a good amount of touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, now that you're talking about it, I mean, I could see him getting over 1,000. To me, I just think, again, I think that this is going to be a very Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews dominated season when it comes to the pass game. With sprinkles of Rashad Bateman, and of course Zay Flowers, he's going to get his opportunities as well. But I think it's just with us being a run dominant team, a run first team,
Yeah.
There's too many weapons for just one ball to go around on that receiving core. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I hope you're right. I hope he gets over 1,000 yards, 7, 8 touchdowns. But I just think it's gonna be very tough with all the other weapons that we have now. While we're on the topic of Lamar Jackson being a leader, and by the way,
Yes.
we got G Money in the building.
G
What's
Money.
going on, Gerald? Appreciate you for
Gerald.
coming through.
Can I make one more comment about Zay real quick? I have his stats pulled up.
Sure, yeah.
He had 858 yards in 16 games last year. All right. Inactive the final week. Here's why I'm saying 1,000. All right. He had a game against the Seahawks, 1 catch, 11 yards. Game against the Jags, 1 catch, 7 yards. Granted, we blew out the Seahawks. Those games right there. If something goes right, if the game's closer, he has a couple more catches and he plays week 18, he hits 1,000 yards rookie year. I think we're going to regress a little bit to the point where we won't have the blowout. So it'll be closer games. He'll be getting more yards. And I think we will play that 17th game. That's why I'm saying 1,000. And I'm right there with you. I think Isaiah and I think Mark are going to have big years. But I just feel like if you get 858 out of a rookie in that offense last year, in a run-first offense with a new OC, I feel like 1,000 has to happen. I feel like he is the diamond that we've been waiting to draft. And
I'll tell you this.
That's what I'm saying.
If Zay Flowers amasses 1,000 receiving yards this season, the Ravens will have the #1 seed again. I can tell you that right now.
Okay.
If he's doing that well, I think that would be very indicative of the fact that either A, we're losing a lot of games and we're having to throw ourselves back into it, or B, we're scoring early, and he's getting his yardage early and his touchdowns early, and then we're kind of leaning on teams with the run game. So it's either one of the two. But either way,
Taquan's right. The screening, it was a screen against the Bengals. I was at that game.
Oh yeah, that was back on 70 yards.
70 yards right there.
Yeah.
They called it back on that phantom holding on Odell. You're right. So there, that's 70. He's over 900 right
there. Yeah, that's true. As a rookie. Yeah.
As a Raven receiver drafted with our history. First round. I'm talking Travis Taylor's. I'm talking Brashad Perryman's.
You got a point. Hey man, I really do hope that Zay Flowers. Yeah, I hope that Zay Flowers can take that next step. You know me, I'm a Rashad Bateman guy all the way. I want him to kind of be the dude. I want him to kind of get that Justin Jefferson confidence. You know what I mean? Like Jamar Chase level confidence, like that. I need that for Rashad Bateman because I know he's got the skill set. I love Zay Flowers. I really do. I wish that Zay Flowers could turn into kind of like the Ravens sort of Tyreek Hill. I don't think he has the same top end speed as a Tyreek Hill does, but he's great in his own regard, and I hope that he definitely does get over 1,000 yards this season. That'd be amazing. But listen, while we're still on the topic of Lamar Jackson being a leader, because you just brought up the fact that after that AFC Championship game loss, Lamar Jackson went to Zay Flowers' house and kind of, talked with him, consoled him, kind of comforted him in that moment because it was tough. That had to be tough for Zay Flowers because, I know Zay Flowers was mad at himself because I know a lot of the Ravens flock, including me, was upset with Zay Flowers after that AFC Championship loss because it's just why do you need to taunt after getting that 50-yard gain? Why do you need to reach the ball out over the end zone and put it at risk to get punched out, which it did, which kind of sealed the game for us? Two things you did not need to do, but you did, and I'm hoping that this year he can kind of turn that around. But it speaks just to Lamar Jackson's leadership, the fact that he went over to Zay Flowers' house and kind of talked to him about that. But also, there's some news that came out of the Ravens training camp on Saturday. This is coming from Jonas Schaefer. Quote, Lamar Jackson's impact on the offense was obvious, but the Ravens will need his leadership too. After rookie tackle Roger Rosengarten struggled to block Tavius Robinson on one dropback late in practice with the second-team offense, Lamar left his usual perch as an onlooker lined up behind the play, and he approached Roger Rosengarten for a quick word. This means a lot to me because it shows that not only is Lamar Jackson kind of not kind of, as my lights just went off here, let me turn it back on. Not only is Lamar Jackson a leader of his skill players, guys who he can kind of directly profit and eat off of, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, guys like that. But his offensive line, rookie
Mhm.
offensive lineman. He's coaching them up. He's telling them, hey, look, if you do this, I prefer this when you do that. In my experience, if you do this, this tends to work better. That it shows why this guy deserves the contract that he has. For one, probably needs to be getting paid more relative to the other quarterbacks that are getting paid in this market now. We'll probably get into that in a little bit too. But the leadership from this guy, it's just not spoken about nearly enough. I mean, his athleticism is his kind of claim to fame, right? People always talk about, Lamar Jackson with his legs, he's electric, but nobody talks about really his mind and his heart. You know what I mean? Like the guy really cares about the game of football. He really cares about his teammates and, him. I don't want to say consoling, but kind of like coaching up and giving advice to a rookie right tackle. That means a lot to me. What do you make of it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to hear. I didn't actually see that he went over and talked to Roger. I mean, he's gonna be blocking his right side, hopefully.
Yeah,
So I'd rather have it now, July 29th, it's a talk than kind of a screaming on October 29th or no,
yeah.
December 29th. So that actually is really good to hear. And yeah, you make great points there. Batavius Robinson, I mean, if he's beating Roger Rosengard, I mean, I saw today he had a couple of good plays on Batavius Robinson. It is talking about the edge real quick. Uh, so maybe that's, it's iron sharpening iron. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But I think today in the notes that Roger Rosengarten had a better practice as well. Yeah, rookie right tackle Roger Rosengarten looked to have his best practice yet. He had a good tussle with Brent Urban on one run play, anchored well on a power rush from David Ojabo, then definitely handled on Odafe Owe power rush and spin move during the
Mm,
series, which is second team offense went against the defensive first team. Rosengarten plays good technique, and it's good to see him stand strong versus NFL power. That was directly from the Ravens website today.
nice, nice. I mean, we already know Odafe Owe is a training camp terror, but the fact that rookie Roger Rosengarten is out there kind of, putting him in check, that's really good to hear. Again, man, I mean, we're hearing good things about Andrew Voorhees at that left guard spot. We're hearing good things about Roger Rosengarten at that right tackle spot. So the only spot that we have to turn to now is really that. And I'm not saying that those other two spots are completely locked down. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're trending towards those two guys starting, Voorhees and Rosengarten. But in terms of that right guard spot, right, where we lost Kevin Zeitler last season, where do we go from there? I've been hearing kind of, remnants of, Daniel Faalele, he's looking good
Yeah.
there. But at the same time, and let me know if you feel the same way, Alex, Daniel Faalele at right guard for the Ravens, right? This dude is 300 and something odd pounds, 6'8" as a right guard. I have concerns about that size. You know, there is such thing as being too big on the offensive line. I think that we saw it with a guy like Alejandro Villanueva, who played tackle for us. He's a very tall guy. Guys were able to easily bend, get underneath him, get to the quarterback. I worry about that same thing happening with a Daniel Faalele. Now, difference is he's a guard. There's not going to be any space on the outside for guys to just kind of run around him, bend around him. But at the same time, it does concern me a little bit. But what are your thoughts right now on that right guard position for the Ravens?
It's a big question mark. I think it's the biggest question mark on the line. It's pulled up right here. Daniel Falele's snap counts from last year, and in our final 4 games, he played 34, 17, 17, 28 snaps. The 34 and the 28, he basically played half the game. That was against the Jags and then the Steelers, and then he played a quarter of the plays against San Fran and 30% of the plays against Miami. So it's not like he sat on the bench all last year. Like he was going against, you know, top talent. He was playing in these big games, switching out with Morgan Moses, if you remember, because he wasn't fully healthy. It's like, do I really want him at guard or Boz says Lamar won't be able to see? Yeah, I mean 6'8", 380 is what they have him listed right here on this website, which is
Yeah,
insane. Like, are you gonna be able to put somebody next to him, or he's gonna be like, he's gonna be touching him, like in all seriousness. So I don't know how I feel about him at guard. I mean, unless they have him slimmed down, he's looking that good to where he can play right guard.
yeah,
But Ben Cleveland was a third round pick. We signed Josh Jones, who I think has a little bit of guard experience. don't know. I don't know how to feel about him at guard, unless he is
Yeah,
truly the best option possible.
yeah, he's one of those guys, kind of like a Roger Rosengard and kind of like a Andrew Voorhees. We're gonna have to see what they do in the preseason. If they can prove it in the preseason and in these joint practices that like, hey, they're anchoring that spot, then sure, I think that they deserve to get the nod and have the start in those respective positions. But man, Boz again does bring up a good point. 6'8" is a large man. You know what I mean? And we know Lamar Jackson
Yeah,
loves to throw over the middle. That's one of his favorite places to
yeah,
throw. And oh, by the way, when Lamar Jackson is throwing over the middle, if it's anything less than 20 yards that he's throwing, he's going to throw it kind of sidearmed and it's going to be a straight throw. You know what I mean? There's not going to be a
yeah,
whole lot of arc on it. He kind of likes to sling it, to guys that are like
yeah,
20 yards or less. So with a guy that's 6'8" in the trenches like that, it's going to be a little bit harder to do that, to pull that off when it comes to checkdowns, things like that. So, I think we kind of got to be careful with it. We'll see how it works in the preseason. Um, Again, we have other options there as well. I mean, it's not necessarily nailed down to Fa Lily just yet, but Ben Cleveland, like you mentioned, is a guy who's been kind of contesting for that spot. Dre says here, I'm wondering how Ben Cleveland doing. I thought he would be the right guard. Yeah, we'll
yeah,
see. Big country, yeah, bringing it up Jeremiah as well, and then of course there's always Patrick McCarry. Patrick McCarry can you can plug
yeah,
and play him anywhere.
yeah. I just looked up Patrick Mahomes 6'4", 305. A
Mm,
big difference to 6'8", 380.
yeah,
I
it
mean, it's
is.
75-pound difference and 4-inch difference. So I'm not too sure. It's to me the right guard position is kind of like now my biggest question mark I'm looking at throughout the rest of training camp, preseason. And speaking of preseason, the first preseason game is on Thursday. You have, I believe, the Bears and the Texans in the Hall of Fame game. It's
Yeah,
going to be second and third stringers, fourth stringers, but it's football is back nonetheless. And then we'll
yes,
have our first preseason game coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll have so much stuff to talk about the preseason. I think the line's going to be a thing we're looking at. Uh, the backup safeties as well, the backup corners, and then the linebackers as well. Trenton Simpson, we'll see him. We'll see Malik Harrison. Yeah, football is back, boss. Is back indeed. So that'll be fun to look at. And our receivers as well. Tez Walker, actually, I want to bring up real quick.
yeah,
Sports Illustrated had a really good article on him about how he's shining at training camp. Roosh brought up earlier, but John Harbaugh said that Tez is doing a great job stacking practices, that they were going to go 3 plays and they're going to go with a young guy start off camp. Todd Monken caught a fade, put it up there, and Tez made the play.
yeah.
So they throw him out there, and Monken gives him a good shot, and he takes it. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in preseason as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, Tez Walker, can you imagine if he emerges as like one of the
Yeah,
top receivers on this team in his rookie season? I mean, that would be incredible. That's not even one of the things that like, I'm expecting as a Ravens fan, but like just that would be quite the luxury to tell you the truth if, he would step up in his first season, but we'll see. We'll see.
yeah,
Okay. So another thing that came out of Ravens training camp today, after practice it ended, Kyle Phoenix at Kyle P. Barber on X, shout out to him, says wide receiver Rashad Bateman exited practice jogging off the field after about an hour and he did not return. Now, later on, after the practice ended, John Harbaugh took the podium and on the mic, he said he thinks that Rashad Bateman is dealing with some soreness. It's nothing serious, something to that effect. So, uh, slight news there. I'm not too concerned about it, to be honest with you, Alex. I mean, it sounds like there was a little bit of soreness. He might have like, I don't even want to say pulled something, but
yeah,
you know, just something small. And the Ravens are doing their due diligence to kind of take the necessary precautions. So I get it.
yeah. I mean, I think they do it for anybody. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if it was a starting caliber player, it's like why have him out there in this heat? Probably already fatigued, not trying to mess with it anymore.
yeah,
I like when the news first came out. I'm like, if they said he jogged or ran back to the locker room, it's nothing serious. I'm not worried about it. If it was a game, he'd be back out there. You know what I mean?
right.
So it's practice. We're in July. We're not in a week before week 1. So one thing I do want to bring up real quick though is defensive tackle Travis Jones showed off his strength today when he basically clotheslined running back Derrick Henry and threw him to the ground during the early part of practice.
Woo. My boy Travis Jones is scary, man. I mean, they say he's the strongest man on the team, but I did not hear about that until you just said it. clotheslining Derrick Henry is crazy.
From Ryan Mink on BaltimoreRavens.com. Have the article right now. Clotheslined.
Man, I mean, he might Travis Jones, and this may be another hot take, right? He might have a Justin Madubuike 2023 like season. I'm just saying, like, it could happen. It could
not
happen.
13 sacks.
Not 13 sacks, but like the pressures and the run stoppages, all those things that he brings to the table. Pay attention to this guy. I mean, I've been saying it for a couple of years now. I've been loving Travis Jones. I also love Justin Madubuike when he came out. I'll never forget when Justin Madubuike, when we first drafted him, I said I love Madubuike because he's like a zombie, right? He's always trying to rip through the walls of the offensive line, you know, and last year he did that, getting 12 and a half sacks or whatever it was that he got. But yeah, Travis Jones, man, Dre says it here. He's gonna be a beast. He already is a beast. I love me some Travis Jones.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. And then kind of just one more final thing.
Okay.
This is something else I'll be looking forward to in the preseason. Third string running back Owen Wright continues to look good. It's a strong competition between him and rookie Rasheen Ali. Yeah, Owen Wright, I believe, from Monmouth, got him as UDFA last year. There's a question mark, after it goes Henry, Hill, question mark. Don't know if we'll bring in a vet. The vet running backs aren't looking that good. I don't think we'll sign one. So to kind of give these guys, a fight for the final running back spot.
Yeah, and I think that's how it should be, to be honest with you. I mean, when you think about like, hey, I mean, are we gonna bring in a vet? I mean, we brought in a vet. That's Derrick Henry. We gotta use him to the best of his abilities. And I think that with the vets that we bought in years past, like Le'Veon Bell, what's the other guy? Latavius
Murray, Devonta Freeman, Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, Cook. Don't even bring up Dalvin Cook, man. That whole situation just kind of pissed me off. But no,
Tyson Williams. Where were his carries at?
Tyson Williams, but
the touchdown against the Raiders.
My point is that, like, with all these other veteran running backs that we bought in, we kind of use them as kind of like accessory pieces in the run game. Yes. But with the Derrick Henry, he's going to be the main attraction when it comes to this Ravens run game. So, I don't expect us to kind of run him into the ground. But so it is an interesting point that you bring up. I mean, after Henry, yeah, there's Hill, but who else is gonna take those reins and late in games or late second quarter? Who are we gonna sub in? That sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe it will be an Owen Wright. Maybe it will be we'll see some Rasheen Ali. But I'm really excited for around Thanksgiving time, Christmas time, when Keaton Mitchell is able to come back. Because, man, having that run game with Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell, and oh yeah, by the way, there's Lamar Jackson as well in that backfield, it's going to be damn hard to stop. And I think that introducing Keaton Mitchell kind of halfway through the season works to the Ravens' benefit in a way, because it adds like a new wrinkle to the offense that, like, it's kind of as if like you traded for a guy that good in Keaton Mitchell halfway through the season, Yeah. But instead we're just kind of getting him back from the I word. So I think that the run game is going to be okay. The run game is going to be great. I cannot wait. Yeah, man, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I'm just going to go down real quick. These free agent running backs, Dalvin Cook, Joshua Kelly, Latavius Murray, Kareem Hunt, Matt Breida, Jerick McKinnon, Melvin Gordon, Benjamin, Keyshawn Vaughn, Deion Jackson. That screams Melvin Gordon coming back on the practice squad to me. That's what it screams.
Yeah. All right. So let me see what else is coming out of Ravens training camp. We're hearing about David Ojabo, has been ramping up in practice. So that good news to hear. We always love to hear production coming off of that edge rusher group, because that is one of the only places, like, I mean, you mentioned right guard is the spot that you're looking at, that you're kind of focused on for this upcoming season. But for me, it always has been and it still is edge rusher. Yeah. I mean, where are those 9 sacks that we lost from Jadeveon Clowney going to come back from? I mean, where are we replacing those? I know where we're going to get the targets from Odell Beckham Jr. replaced. Yep. I know where that's going to come from. That's going to be Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely. You can go all the way to Tez Walker if you want to. But when it comes to the edge rushing group, I mean, who do we get new on that edge rushing group? I mean, Adiza Isaac, who hasn't practiced yet. We got Adafe Owe, who we've been hearing the same thing about him. I mean, he's dominating in training camp, but let's see if he can do something more than set an edge in the actual games.
Yeah.
David Ajabo, like I just mentioned, he's been ramping up in training camp, but can he keep that same production when the bullets start flying officially?
Yeah. Is Calvin Owe gonna get you 9 sacks in 14 games again? A couple of forced fumbles.
Yeah.
You know, like I want him to. I like him. I'm happy we signed him, but it's kind of crazy. I mean, I want him to do that again, but it's kind of unrealistic to expect the same production. But at the same time, he could. And I'm glad you brought edge rushers because an old friend of ours is currently not happy somewhere else. Currently walked out of practice today after a nice talk with his head coach. That's former number 99 out of Grand Valley State, Mr. Matthew Judon. So a video came out today. Gerard Mayo going over to Matt Judon, who isn't practicing at all, wants a new contract. And Mayo talks to him, and there's just Matt Judon. You can see his face looks pretty upset. I don't know if he was told to leave practice or if he was told to walk off or he did himself, but he actually walked out of practice after talking with the Patriots new head coach. And of course, rumors sparked, bring him home. I don't think it would cost much. It's just the contract and the edge rushing market is insane, and we don't really have money. But believe me, if we can make this happen, I'd be all for it. Having Judon come home, having a premier edge rusher in a system, not like Winks where edge rushers are allowed to get to the quarterback, not drop back into coverage as much. I would love it. Do I think it will happen? No.
Yeah, no, I don't think it will happen either. But it would be nice to have a Matthew Judon back just because of the chemistry that I think he already has with this locker room, and I think more importantly, the coaches know a guy like Matt Judon. They know where to stick him, and to have him be the most productive he can be. But again, from a contract perspective, are we talking like a rental here, or like just like a one last hurrah? Like that's what we're looking at, to be honest with you, when it comes to like a Matt Judon. So I'm okay with not bringing him back, to be honest with you. I would not mind if we didn't, but at the same time, I would not mind if we didn't. And I know it sucks for me to be indifferent about anything when we're having a sports podcast. Yeah. We're supposed to have stronger opinions than that. But I mean, I think it's a net positive getting him on this edge rushing group. I do. But at the same time, like, do I think that really puts us over the edge to kind of be that Super Bowl winning team? I'm not exactly sure.
It helps us out, let's say, divisionally wise and conference wise. I think it could take you from a 4 to a 3, a 3 to a 2, a 2 to a 1. He'd be playing for a guy who he was teammates with his rookie year in Zach Ward.
That's true.
He's produced. I mean, it's just like game on the line. Is he going to? I mean, I think possibly he could get you a sack in the fourth quarter that you need. Yeah. From what I've seen him do with the Patriots, and let me just pull up his stats since he's left us and since he's gotten away from a Wink Martindale defense. 2021, 12.5 sacks. 2022, 15.5 sacks. Last year, 4 sacks. But I believe he didn't play in many games.
I'm going to say, how many games did he play last year?
He played in 4 games and had 4 sacks. And he was out the rest of the year. This screams Ravens. It screams the guy having really good years, have an I-word riddled year, leaves, comes to us.
Yeah, you're making some solid points there. You're making some
that just screams. Points. But I just don't think he's going to get the contract that he's looking for. We won't pay him, number one.
That's what I'm saying.
And number two, we don't have the money, even if we wanted to pay.
Yeah. But if he wants to win a ring, come here and ball out for a year, hey. And I think that
play that final year, do well, press yourself out of Baltimore, go somewhere else. Do what you did Clowney. Except we finished the mission this time.
Do what everybody does.
Clowney got paid after one good year.
Yeah. And you have a chance to win a ring. You have a chance to win a ring with the Ravens. Like that's always on the table. Like, like we bought in an Odell Beckham Jr. last offseason. And I don't know what OBJ was thinking going into last year, but I don't know if he thought he was going to find himself in the AFC Championship game. Again, he's never played in before in his life. I think that that was huge, and I think that we could replicate the same thing for a Matthew Judon. We are that team who is going to make, at this point, the deep playoff runs. I think that's here to stay. I think that you can book it right now that the Ravens will be and this may be another hot take, maybe my third hot take of this episode. At least while Lamar Jackson is around, so I'd say for the next 3 to 4 seasons, the Ravens will be at least, at the very least, in the divisional round of the playoffs. At the very least. Okay. So, with that being said, if you are a free agent or if you are somebody, a disgruntled player who, is willing to come to the Ravens and take a, 1-year deal for whatever, hey, I say do it, man. If you want to win a ring, you may be the missing piece that we need. Okay. Look, we've talked enough about Matthew Judon. You had something else. Let's go ahead and end the episode with the last thing you had. It was something about pressure on. Yeah. What was that about?
Just quick. Don't want to make it too long. We've kind of touched on it. It was one of these radio shows on ESPN. Their top 5 players under the most pressure.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 5-1. I could be getting these mixed up. I know it was Watson, Russell Wilson, Stephon Diggs, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson at 1. For me, it's kind of crazy to think about the reigning MVP coming off of his best career finish as under the most pressure after, his team lost a lot. But if that's the way we look at it, it's fine by me. I really don't agree with it. I can say, yes, he's under pressure, but the player under the most pressure in the league is kind of crazy. I'm surprised the quarterback in Buffalo isn't under a lot of pressure considering his number 1 receiver wanted to leave, whole new receiving core, hasn't gotten to the AFC Championship in how many years? Has gotten the same place as Lamar.
Yeah.
That's just me. I can understand Rodgers. I can understand Russ. I can understand Diggs. Understand that, but I just don't understand Lamar at number 1. Top 10 maybe. Number 1.
No, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong here, Alex. I think I totally understand why Lamar Jackson is on that top 5 list. I think 2-time MVP. Okay, like a guy who wins over 70% of his regular season games. I can get behind and I can understand why there is criticism. And Ron says it here. He needs a Super Bowl. 2 MVPs without a Super Bowl. I think there's a very short list of quarterbacks who have 2 MVPs but no Super Bowls. So I think that we have to kind of we kind of gotta give him some leeway here and let him know that you got a point, because like as much as I love our guy number 8 Lamar Jackson, it's just he has not been able to do it in the playoffs. And listen, we got a super chat donation from Asmodeus Donato says for your protein shake needs, dropping the 5-piece in the chat. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, King.
Yes, we're gonna keep this up on the screen here. I have some stats though.
Okay.
Because here I am, right? Me all high and mighty, Sutton Def here on the Purple Rain Podcast, episode 252 of the Purple Rain Podcast, talking about how Lamar Jackson, he needs to win a playoff game. He needs to get to a Super Bowl. You've got 2 MVPs. Where's the Super Bowl ring? Yes, there's pressure that comes along with that. But let me say this as well. Last year in the AFC Championship game, the Ravens had 6 rushing attempts, as we all very well know. Let me let you know the playoff record of quarterbacks who had less than 18 rushing attempts in playoff games. Kurt Warner, famous Cardinals quarterback, was 2-3 in the playoffs when his team ran for less than 18 times in a game. Aaron Rodgers, 2-4. Tom Brady, 2-5. Troy Aikman, 0-1. Ben Roethlisberger, 0-1. Steve Young, 0-1. All 3 of these guys I'm about to name are 0-2 when they have less than 18 rushing attempts in the playoffs. Joe Montana, Patrick Mahomes, John Elway.
Oh, hold up. You mean the everybody they're calling the GOAT, number 15 in Kansas City?
That's the one. Yes.
But when we say it's because we didn't run, it's because we're making excuses, which it can be called an excuse, but it happened to them in the Super Bowl too. I think that's one of the losses it has to be.
Yes.
And what's the
So
other
I mean,
loss against the
but
Bengals?
I would say, well, wait, the list is not over yet. List
Oh,
not over.
I'll mute my mic.
Look, we still got 3 more names. Okay, 0-3, Drew Brees. 0-3, Brett Favre. 0-4, Peyton Manning himself. So look, it's not a Lamar thing. It's not just that Lamar Jackson needs to play better in the playoffs. It's not just that. I understand where the pressure comes from. He is the quarterback. Quarterbacks are making a boatload of money nowadays. Shout out to Tua Tagovailoa and Jordan Love. They just got paid. But look, it comes down to being able to control these games and lean on these teams. You know,
Yes.
and when you're not running the ball a sufficient amount of times, a lot of times you're going to lose. We're talking about cold weather football games, right? Where you have to kind of get it out of the mud. It's gritty. If you're not running the football, you're going to lose in most instances, right? The only 3 quarterbacks on that list that I named that have wins when their team ran for less than 18 times in a playoff game, Kurt Warner, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. They won 2 apiece. The rest of those quarterbacks were winless. Troy Aikman, Ben Roethlisberger, Steve Young, Joe Montana, Patrick Mahomes, John Elway, Drew Brees, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning. And if you just want to talk about the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks, Tom Brady, like I said, again, 2-5. Joe Montana, 0-2. Patrick Mahomes, 0-2. Peyton Manning, 0-4. Okay?
I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
my dog Kurt Warner needs more credit now after hearing that. Very underrated. I mean, 2 wins with no. I mean, that wasn't this new age gunslinging NFL. That was back then, when running was a big part of the game. So
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the Peyton Manning 0-4, the Drew Brees 0-3, the Brett Favre, the Wrangler man himself.
Yeah.
And what a lot of those quarterbacks have in common, though? A ring.
Yeah.
So even the best of the best, when you don't run, sometimes you can't win.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some blame to go around when it comes to the Ravens' lack of success in the postseason. Some of it you could say could be placed upon Lamar Jackson. Some of it you can say can be placed upon the coaching staff and I guess their kind of inability to stick to their guns when it matters the most in the playoffs, right? But I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was kind of like an interesting,
beautiful.
I thought that was kind of an interesting fact there. But I think we're gonna go ahead and leave it there for this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. I think one more thing I wanted to bring up. I know you watched the fights over the weekend, Alex.
I did.
Yeah. Patty the Batty got the W over King Green. I did predict that on the last episode of the show. I thought it was going to go to decision, but he ended up choking him out. Shout out to Patty the Batty. Then you had Tom Aspinall. I said that fight was not going to last more than 45 seconds. I think it lasted like 50 seconds, something like that. Tom Aspinall knocked him out. That was great. And then also you had, of course, in the main event, Bilal Muhammad beating Leon Edwards by unanimous decision. I said that this fight would probably be pretty uneventful, and it was for the most part. You had Bilal Muhammad dumping Leon Edwards on his head, quite literally, a couple times throughout the fight. But Bilal took the belt. I don't know who he's going to fight next. I think he's probably going to go ahead and fight maybe like a Shavkat Rakhmonov, which I think will be a very, very interesting fight to watch. I probably got Shavkat winning that one, but Leon really disappointed me, man. He really disappointed me.
Who were his title defenses against? Who? The Usman rematch, Leon. The Usman rematch.
And Colby Covington.
And in the Usman rematch, didn't he get docked a point or so? Or wasn't he got warned a couple of times? Is that the rematch? Right?
No, I think that was in the first fight, I want to say.
Okay.
Where he got docked a couple points for like grabbing the cage, things like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Very uneventful title run as a new watcher of the UFC. What I will say though is I thought Leon Edwards was sleeping about 10 different times in the fight. His eyes were closed. I'm like,
closed.
I'm like, all right. I'm like, you obviously aren't gonna win this fight. Like you're sitting there. Like I thought he fell asleep. I didn't think he was awake. Like eyes are closed. I'm just like, and there was a minute left. I shut my computer. I just turned it off. I'm like, I know what's gonna happen. Congrats, he won the belt. That was a waste of my time. And on Sunday, I wore my Kamaru Usman graphic T-shirt I was happy to wear it. I finally felt like I could leave the house wearing that shirt. I got it for Christmas. I hadn't been able to wear it once. Finally wore it on Sunday because just that Leon Edwards was so shameful. I'm like, you know what, Usman, I'll rep you now. But yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, man. I mean, Leon really let me down. I mean, and you mentioned him closing his eyes in the octagon. He did mention after the fight that like the timing of the fight, because they fought in Manchester, England. So by the time they were fighting, it was like 5 a.m. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning in Manchester, England. And he was saying that like that time difference was really messing with him. He was tired. He was sleepy from like the beginning of the round, the first round. So yeah, maybe that has something to do why he was literally like closing his eyes like in the fight. I thought that was absolutely crazy. You never close your eyes, right? You don't do that in a fight. But
yeah, and the takedowns too. It's getting taken down real easily. I think he was having his way
dumped
taken
on
down.
his head, bro.
Yeah,
that was so embarrassing. Oh my gosh, Leon.
I'm not sure what that was, but hey,
yeah.
next up, what 305? Is he fighting? So
yeah, Izzy and Dreykus, yeah.
So we'll have that, and then the Sphere real quick. They announced the Sphere fights, and the tickets for that are insane, like 4K. It's crazy.
Jesus. Yeah, I saw the card for the Sphere. I think it's the Mexican Independence Day card, and they have Sean O'Malley headlining against Marab Dibiashvili, I think is how you pronounce his name. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to not have any Mexicans, headlining the event on Mexican Independence Day, but instead you have like a rainbow colored hair American.
Right? Rojas?
Ooh.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He's Mexican, right?
Yeah, he is, but he's too green. He's too young. He hasn't fought anybody. The UFC is really kind of feeding him like just kind of cans, like garbage can guys. You know what I mean? Just to kind of build him up. I would assume when he gets to be like 20, 21, then they'll start kind of giving him, bigger competition. But for now, they're not going to give some 18-year-old kid like some fucking 28-year-old, 30-year-old killer. You know what I mean? They're not going to do that. So, and he won't headline a card anytime soon. But they should have gotten like a Yair Rodriguez. They should have maybe gotten like a Max Holloway to fight Ilia Topuria on that card, even though Ilia Topuria, he is a Spaniard, and that would be a conflict of interest. I know that, but it's a lot. I just think that the Sphere card could have been better, because again, you have a rainbow colored like hair American, like running around in the main event, and it's just like, bro, you could have had a Mexican. That's just me. Yeah. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and leave it there for this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast, an hour and 2 minutes. And again, thank you guys so much for coming through this episode. Football is right around the corner. Listen, by the time we go live next, we will have a football game going live. That is crazy to think about, doesn't it? It's crazy to think about.
Lovely.
Bears and who again? Who are they playing?
Bears Texans. Tyson Bagent.
Right. Yes, Secret Bagent man. We will get to see him as well. As Modi is throwing another super chat donation in the chat. Thank you so much. Dropping the 5Ps down below, making it rain here on episode 252 of the Purple Rain Podcast. Says, do either of you play sports recreationally? I'm thinking of getting into MMA myself next year. Okay. Me personally, right now, I do not play any sports. Well, I don't play any organized sports. Like recreationally, yeah, I'll play some basketball here and there. You know what I mean? I'm pretty good at basketball, or at least I like to think I'm pretty good at basketball. Around Thanksgiving time, I'll throw the football around, play some 7-on-7 with my friends, that sort of thing. But outside of that, not really. What about you, Alex?
I was in an indoor league that ended, I think, last month. I was playing that for a couple months, and hopefully I can play again. Mainly soccer, indoor soccer. That's kind of my main thing. But I want to get into tennis, bro. Got my tennis racket. I've been trying to get somebody to play tennis with me.
Have you played pickleball?
I haven't, and I've been thinking like, it can't be that hard. You know what I mean?
No.
Can't be that hard.
It's like tennis, but like slower paced,
Go and hustle some old hags for a couple of dollars. I'm kidding. But
I'm not.
It does look fun. I have never gotten around to it.
Yeah, we gotta play. We gotta play sometime. We gotta work that out.
For sure.
Let me see. Thank you so much, Asmodeus. We appreciate you. Killer Cam says he does mixed martial arts. Okay, Cam. I like that. I like that. Shout out to you. Boz saying like the video and subscribe. Yes, sir. Leave a thumbs up on this video before you get out of here. Again, this has been episode 252 of the Purple Rain Podcast. My name is Sutton Def. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def, just like you see down below. You can follow this guy over here on Twitter at SimplyAS10, on Instagram at SimplyAS10.prod, everywhere else just at SimplyAS10. And like he led the episode with, as you can see down below as well, Manscaped is our sponsor. You can go on manscaped.com, order yourself anything that you want. Yeah, that's right, anything off of that website. And guess what? When you go to the checkout page, you put in our code PRP. You're going to save yourself 20% off of your order, plus free international shipping, which is the kicker. Again, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Football season is right around the corner, as in this Thursday, 3 days from now. You can expect a football game. That just hearing the sounds of commentators and football music is going to bring me back in an instant, you know. So I'm excited for that. I hope you guys are excited for it as well. Make sure you stay locked into the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Not only do we do these live videos, there's also shorts, YouTube shorts that come out throughout the week about football, Ravens updates, UFC updates, things like that. So exactly, NFL updates. Make sure you check those out. I was not a fan of Tua Tagovailoa and Jordan Love getting paid big money contracts. Go check out my opinion on that. But again, with that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out.
Yes, thank you for coming through episode 252 of the Purple Rain Podcast. As always, stay positive, that's negative.
Yes, and never ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's been episode 252 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We're gonna catch you guys in the next